this point, I want to encourage all of us to continue standing as I invite our dear Monsignor Charles to lead us in a word of prayer.
For our prayer this morning, as we begin our conference, I would like to start with a reading from the Holy Scriptures, Psalm 46. God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in distress. Thus we do not fear, though earth be shaken and mountains quake to the depth of the sea, though its waters rage and foam, and the mountains totter at its surging. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our God, our stronghold, is the God of Jacob. Streams of the rivers gladden the city of God, the holy dwelling of the Most High. God is in its midst, it shall not be shaken. God will help it at break of day. Though nations rage and kingdoms totter, God's voice thunders and the earth trembles. The Lord of hosts is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob. Come and see the work of the Lord, who has done fearsome deeds on earth, who stops wars to the ends of the earth, breaks the bones, splinters the spears, and burns the shields with fire, who says, "Be still and confess that I am God. I am exalted among the nations, exalted on the earth. The Lord is with us. Our stronghold is the God of Jacob." Let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God, our loving Father, we thank you for all your goodness you have given to humanity, so that you may sustain us. We thank you for the wonderful things you enabled man to do, some of which have distorted your will for man. We thank you for the moments you allow us have to review the direction we are taking in the universe. Lord, we thank you for this conference that is going to consider our environment and food security and climate change. In the process of technological development, we have damaged the environment you have set in place for all of us to live in peace and harmony. Lord, we realize the harm we have done to our detriment, and now we have begun to test the danger involved through hunger in parts of our country, and also the floods that have claimed lives from our nationals. Lord, we acknowledge our guilt for all that. We want to mend our ways and recover the beauty you first set for our benefit. May this conference forge a way forward which will help us to retrace our path to a better living and a better existence. May the outcome of this conference call to our consciousness the things we need to do as to rectify our situation, as the environment to become friendly again, as for us to glorify your name and also benefit from that outcome, to live safely and in a peaceful way. May St. Francis of Assisi intercede for us to live with the environment as Mother Earth and not use it selfishly. And this we pray through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much for leading us with a word of prayer. May we all take up our seats. Thank you very much, our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to witness and be part of the first East African Food Security Symposium and Expo 2022 that has been convened by the Climate Change Action East Africa and our host university, the International University of East Africa. And on my own behalf, I want to start by thanking the university led by the Vice Chancellor. I want to thank you for granting us this opportunity to enjoy the facilities of the International University of East Africa. Our dear chief guests, this conference is an international conference that has attracted people from within and without our country. We have over 10 countries at an appropriate time. I'll be happy to introduce the participants. We have breakaway sessions, so we're going to have over 70 papers that will be presented and facilitated by very competent and eminent academicians and technical people across the Africa region. We will also be having exhibitions starting today up to the end of the conference on Sunday. We have key stakeholders who have upholded this event. We have people who have traveled all the way from the Middle East, West Africa. I know that people from Pakistan are here, people from Egypt are here. The East African region is all fully represented here. We want to thank the key stakeholders who have taken up this very, very seriously, especially the FAO, who is also one of our key sponsors of this event. We want to appreciate, Doctor, your contribution, and especially also your physical presence to this event. We want to thank other partners that have so far really come handy. We have institutions like Caritas have played a big role in bringing so many key stakeholders from across the whole country. All the branches of Caritas Uganda are here represented. We also have teams from Caritas International. I want to take this honor to invite the Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Emeka Akaizawa, to welcome us formally.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. It is my pleasure to stand before you and welcome you to this great institution, the International University of East Africa. Again, my name is Professor Emeka, and I am the Vice Chancellor. We are very happy to have you here. As hosts, we want you to feel comfortable and to be able to share ideas that will help the continent. So we are here to discuss a topic of deep international concern: climate change and food security. There can be no more important topic than this. Of course, we are concerned about other issues: wars, nuclear war, famine, poverty, and a host of others. But the issue of climate change trumps all of these because it is an issue that may determine the survivability of Earth as we know it and of us as a people. For those who are not steeped in the art of climate change, you may be asking, what is climate change? According to the United Nations, Climate change refers to the long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. The shifts may be natural, such as through variations in the solar cycle. But the shifts have changed since the 1800s, which is the dawn of the industrial age. Since then, human activities have been the major driver of climate change, primarily due to the use of petrol and oil and gas. How does oil, petrol, and gas come into the picture? Because they emit what is generally known as greenhouse gases. And greenhouse gases destroy the ozone layer. The ozone layer is a gas that sits about 15 to 30 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Its primary function is to filter out the harmful rays of the sun so that they don't come to Earth and cause damage. With the introduction of combustion engines, the use of petrol, the use of gas, they have caused harmful gases that now rise up to the stratosphere and tamper with the functions of the ozone layer. And as a result, the harmful rays of the sun come directly to Earth. And what that means is that it has altered the pattern of the climate on Earth as we know it. It is the destruction of this protective layer by greenhouse gases that alters Earth's climate. And this alteration leads to what we generally know as climate change. Climate warming. We see the evidence in heat waves, in droughts, unpredictable weather patterns. It doesn't rain where it usually rains. It rains a lot where it shouldn't. The rain patterns that was a regular pattern has now been disrupted. So it may not rain when the time comes for the rain to come. And farmers are affected. And so is everybody else. To put it in perspective, Africa loses about $7 to $15 billion a year as a result of climate change. And if what we are doing does not change so that the climate is protected, Africa will be losing about 50 billion by 2040. This is according to Mr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank. So climate change has an impact economically. But most importantly, climate change leads to loss of life. A publication by the United Nations and the Red Cross says that 38 heat waves accounted for deaths of more than 70,000 people worldwide from 2010 to 2019. And according to a report by the United Nations, heat waves will become so extreme in parts of Africa and Asia within decades that human life there will be unsustainable. It is unthinkable that human life will be unsustainable in Africa in the coming decades if things do not change. So far, Africa has been hit by 14 extreme droughts in the past 2 years, far more than any other continent on Earth. And the UN is warning that some 20 million people are at risk in East Africa this year. Devastating droughts, like the one pushing Somalia to the brink of famine, are made far more deadlier when they combine with extreme heat. Drought conditions in eastern Ethiopia, northern Kenya, and Somalia have led the UN to warn that some 22 million people could be at risk of starvation. In Somalia, the rainfall in March to May season was the lowest in the past 6 decades. Worse. And large parts of Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda have also experienced very dry conditions compared with the average. Climate change has a huge impact on human lives. In the global ecosystem, climate change has a direct link to agriculture because agriculture is dependent on weather, on rainfall, temperatures. So is food security, because food security is directly linked to agriculture, because as of today, we cannot produce food in large quantities in any other way than by farming. The labs are not ready, and they cannot provide the food, and they cannot provide organic food the way we know it. And man cannot exist without food. So the interdependence of climate, agriculture, and food security are strong, inseparable, and direct. And they affect us all. Because of this interdependence, we must tackle climate change and food security problem with the seriousness it deserves and with the collective effort it necessitates. Responding to climate change involves 2 major approaches: reducing and stabilizing the levels of heat-trapping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which is generally known as mitigation, and adapting to climate change already in the pipeline, which is known as adaptation. And the main focus or the main objectives of climate change, adaptation, and mitigation in agriculture is to produce more food, but with net reductions in greenhouse emissions from food production, from food processing, and marketing. This, of course, calls for the creation and adoption of new climate-responsive technologies and policies. So in this symposium and expo, you will hear and see these 2 approaches to mitigating climate change applied to the climate change problem. You will hear awareness messages in the areas of agriculture. You will hear state problems, statements, and proposed solutions. And food security. What do we do? How do we secure food? New technologies that mitigate in greenhouse gases and how they do so will be presented. New technologies in hardware, for example, the electric tractor that reduces the impact of greenhouse gases emission by using electricity rather than petrol will be showcased. New financial models for utilization of green technology that suits local farmers will also be discussed.
Can we give him another round of hand clap? Because he surpassed our expectations. We had expected that he would just come and warmly welcome us to this very lavish and magnificent university. I want to take this honor to the opportunity to invite another very important person who actually caused our being here with his team. I am proud to do that because I am also a board member of the Climate Action Network Uganda, and I think with us in the house are other members, board members of Climate Action Network Uganda. If there is any member who is around, kindly stand up briefly as I invite our next facilitator. Any board member of Climate Action Network? Okay, I see a gentleman, Council, and Ms. Vickman. Kindly clap for them. I want to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Ronald Wabai, who is the team leader of Climate Change Action East Africa, to come and address the audience. You're welcome, sir.
All religious leaders present, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in East Africa and you listen to the international media, you must not have missed the concerns on climate change. food security, hunger, death. These are the top human challenges on the globe. Not forgetting the Ukraine-Russian conflict as a fire-up. Days of cheap food are gone. Days of cheap energy are gone. Recently, in this country, we had hunger-related death and general shortages of food, which followed a bad year of drought. Many communities immigrated within and outside. Climate change is frequently mentioned as a global challenge and is worse in our parts of the world where we are not driving contributions in the right way. It impacts on all sectors of the economy. Much of it is agriculture, that it manifests itself with heavy eyes. I'm aware that you all know that if we don't act now, we are wasting time. It is time we support Mother Nature. The event today is timely because it touches human existence. It defines the strategies needed to ensure that nobody in the world, in Uganda, in East Africa, dies because of hunger. It is shameful for a country like ours with varied production systems that could be effectively shared such an unfortunate incidents that are still occurring. The theme of this symposium, linking climate change to food security and well-being of society, is reawakening to all of us involved in food systems. It is now imperative that climate change must be factored in our planning of agriculture, trade, transportation, etc. We ignore it at our own peril. You can't talk of food security without addressing the issues of climate change. Educating the youth about smart agriculture, about modernizing of agriculture, instilling interest in climate change action is more than looking at numbers on budget lines. It is a statement and an action of investment in Africa's food security. It's the best value chain we must all embrace and support and belong to. If we don't, history will judge us harshly. Let me give you another scenario in Uganda. In the Albert system alone, water broke the banks of lakes for 6 months. Even now, some areas of the water is still there due to climate change push factor in the Victoria Nile. Our farmers were pushed away had it not been for certain interventions. It would be even worse. Many would have died of hunger. The Mbale floods less than 2 months ago had fatalities, but with several fields of ready to harvest rice washed away downstream. If the development or planning does not include all of us meaning government, development partners, religious leaders, civil society, entrepreneurs and business people, we cannot break this wall. We all have to work together on one platform to push this message, to act this message. And this is what Climate Change Action East Africa is about. Creating a platform that we all fit in, work together, and come up with a solution.
The issue of climate change impact on the water cycle, and that's what we understand. Food is grown on land. It's not grown in air, it's not grown in water, it's grown on land. But what happens in air affects the food we eat here. What happens in water affects the food we eat here. And who is the driver of those changes in air and changes in water? It is you and me. So if we change our behavior, there is now in Uganda, they say there's a code word, mindset change. I think in the government, that's a word that they like, mindset change. Mindset change will require a lot of inside, you look inside yourself. How has climate change come to disturb that equilibrium? Professor Beck already said that during the Industrial Revolution, we introduced very, very many things into the atmosphere while we're improving our well-being. One of the things that we know are chlorofluorocarbons, halons, those things that were used in our refrigeration systems, like where we're here, those days. They were very perfect. When I read the story, the chemist who discovered the halos, the trichloro, those halogenated hydrocarbons, he put in a glass and drank and said, this is a change of humanity. I don't know whether he really drank it, but they said he did it. But yes, it changed life. Many people made a lot of money, but a few years later on, we found out that the halogenated hydrocarbons were bombing out the ozone. That was aside. But there it was quick. The governments of the world went quickly, signed the Montreal Protocol, and right now we no longer have those halogenated carbons being produced anywhere. We have now our fridges having very good coolants, not those ones. But what is happening here is carbon dioxide, methane. Yesterday I heard that in New Zealand, they're imposing a tax on those who have cows, because cows are also contributing to methane production. And methane is a greenhouse gas that is really that's affecting the climate change, especially from the New Zealand side. I'm wondering, Mr. Minister, if in Uganda we start looking at that as maybe we don't charge, but we try to recognize the contribution of the cows we have in the climate change discourse that we're discussing. But it's true, methane is produced by all cows in their process of digestion, but the methane is the one which is a problem is one of the greenhouse gases. It goes there and creates a thicket. The other issues that are known are agricultural practices, and all of you who are farming in wetlands, all of you who are draining wetlands, you are part and parcel of contributing to the greenhouse gases. Look, the wetlands have a store of carbons. If you go to a wetland, a freshly cleared wetland, you see black carbon. Once you clear a wetland, the wetland says, okay, I give up. I've been storing the gases, the carbon here, I give up. The wetlands release the methane gases in the atmosphere in tons. So clearing one wetland, a square kilometer of wetland, can result into 15 tons of methane into the atmosphere. And you are contributing to the greenhouse gases. We are urging, in the international arena, I'm sure the Minister of Water, which is there, is urging that the contribution of Uganda is very small. Yes, if we look at the industry as a source of carbon dioxide emissions, yes, but if we look at our practices, then we know that we are contributing to that. And today, the symposium of today is trying to alert you that our small actions here in Uganda contribute to what is affecting us here. So if the government programs come on how to protect natural systems, they are found good. That's where our mindset change should start from. Because if we don't do that, we shall contribute getting this 15. It's estimated that in Uganda, if all the wetlands go up, we shall be able to contribute 17,500 metric tons of methane annually into the atmosphere. That's not been counted in the Ugandan systems, but if you calculate, that's what we're going to contribute. So my small statement or contribution in this seminar is that our action on our natural systems is responsible for the contribution that's coming there. So can we change our mindset and protect those natural systems that are helping us to reduce or to store hydrocarbons? Trees store hydrocarbons because when a tree grows bigger and bigger, it is capturing carbon dioxide and turning it to biomass. So why do you go and clear a forest free of charge? So these are the issues that we are discussing, that climate change has come to disturb the equilibrium where we grow food. So what all these contributions, what they have done in the atmosphere, is to delay, because when the water evaporates from the seas, from the lakes, from the trees into the atmosphere, it goes through a process of condensation, then cloud formation. But what has happened is that because of these high concentrations of greenhouse gases that we are pumping in, there is a longer time. The water is not condensing in a short time. So drought is going to be a phenomenon that we experience all the time. Do we want drought? No. Drought affects food systems. So under the climate action East Africa, we are designing a system, or we have designed a system called 1 acre model, 1 acre outcome project, in which we are going to integrate climate change and food security. In that 1 acre, we expect, and we have already done the modeling, and at least theoretically, we expect that within 1 acre and 1 acre of land, which is going to have trees and other products inside, the Ugandan can generate by the second year up to 35 million shillings. By the 5th year, when he starts benefiting from the benefits of the trees, which will be mature, the benefits will increase up to 105 million shillings. But this is a modeling action. We've done it, and those figures are at 50%. This 1 acre model will be launched during this session here, and I invite you to come and listen to what it is. It's also a contribution to government efforts to alleviate poverty, to bring people out of poverty, but we're adding climate dimension inside. We're combining climate change, food security, to design a system that can be that is applicable in our home areas, particularly areas which are highly affected by climate change in Uganda. We have proven that if we do that, we can solve the issue of food security and also address climate change. Imagine if we can get 200 acres of land in a village setting, how much carbon shall we have absorbed? Certainly there's going to be a microclimate created, but more so the food security that will be the outcome of the project will be much more sustainable and address the issue of poverty. It will also address the issue of energy, because biomass is not available in our country in many areas. You find that people don't have firewood. But this will also address the issue of biomass, address the issue of poverty, address the issue of income, but also address the issue of climate change. It's a project that we are going to launch here, and we invite you to be there when we are launching, and the detail will be explained on how you can do it at home. Everybody can do it at home, provided the assumptions, of course, provided you can you give yourself land and so forth. It is true. All of us in the Climate Action East Africa are already experimenting on it. We have done it. We are starting to do it. And we are going to be the demonstration. You will come to our demonstration site to see that it works. But from the modeling part of it, it is something which is a solution to climate change, food security, and well-being. So I invite you to join us at the launch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big hand clap to Dr. Okrut, the Emeritus Executive Director of the NEMA. He has told us what they are planning to do as founders and vision bearers of this Africa Food Security Symposium. They are talking about a 1 acre model, and I'm aware that they really appreciate the different geographics in this country, and especially areas which are semi-arid. I want to encourage you that you start from those areas like Karamoja that has been hit very, very badly by drought. And I'm happy that the person who talked is our government lobbyist on issues of gender. We are all aware that most times it is the children and women who are most hit. They are the ones who feel the most pain of issues of food shortages in our country. And at this point, I want to take this singular honor again to invite one of the key stakeholders and non-state actors that have been supporting this country from independence as far as fixing challenges that relate to food shortage and famine in our country. Can we put our hands together for Dr. Antonio Hueridos, the country director of the Food and Agriculture Organization. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you, the moderator, the chief guest, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, in charge of the agriculture, the entire leadership of the International University of East Africa. Allow me to recognize the Vice Chancellor, Professor Emeka, the Honorable Ambassador Moses, with the Chair of the University Council, the Vice Chancellor of Mbarara University, my brother Ronald, the leading force and the team lead for the climate change East Africa, the representative of Ministry of State for Disaster Preparedness, and all of you in your distinguished capacity here, the civil society organization, the researchers in the academia, the students with us this morning, the private sector, and indeed all of you. Allow me on behalf of FAO and on my own behalf to convey my warm greetings and appreciation for making this much awaited East African Food Security Symposium and Expo a reality. My special thanks goes to and appreciations to the conveners for the symposium, the Climate Change Action East Africa, as well as International University of East Africa for their insight, for the planning, for the leading and organizing this important event on climate change and food security nexus, an issue affecting indeed populations in East Africa region, but also globally. The theme of this symposium and expo, linking climate change and food security and well-being, falls within the mandate both of FAO, but also within the mandate of UN. It is timely, as we know that part of our world continues to face the cost of rising prices of commodities, too often exacerbated by the effects of climate crisis. We are still dealing with the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic, and now the international tension and the war between Russia and Ukraine has distorted the food supply chain as well of fuel, that bringing a number of commodities and problems of trade around the world. The symposium and expo is even more important for the East African region and the sub-region and all IGAD member countries in particular. As we speak, the Horn of Africa is in dire need of food relief to avert the looming famine in this part of the world. Another important coincidence of this symposium is that it comes at the time that we are joining the government of Uganda to commemorate on the 16th of October the World Food Day. The World Food Day, as you know, is dear to FAO heart because it marks the day of our birthday. in 1945. On this day, October 16, FAO was created to help countries around the world to deal with the problems of food insecurity and nutrition. So it is an important day as we join the government around the world to bring awareness to the challenge that we continue to see around the world when it comes to food insecurity and nutrition. These events also, as you can see, then it adds a lot of momentum to our celebration. I'm optimistic that the outcomes of this Expo and Symposium can create more synergies in contributing not only to the World Food Day, but also to the theme of inclusiveness that we have for this year, leaving no one behind. Better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life. You can see how inclusive is the theme as we move forward. So the symposium comes also barely about a year when nations of this world gathered together in 3 important international symposium. The first was the first ever UN Food System Symposium was held in New York. Later, we had another one on nutrition for growth, summit in Tokyo, and later in 2021, the COP 2026 net zero target in Glasgow. Recall that at Glasgow, the food system and climate change nexus took the central stage with the recognition of the mutual, symbiotic, at times antagonistic relationship between the 2 core systems that continue to affect humanity, the climate system and the food system. Given the fact that we all know, and some of the speakers have mentioned here, that agriculture contributes to over 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emission, food insecurity is therefore one of the consequences of climate change. We strongly believe that a holistic approach on food security should be far-reaching in terms of bringing agriculture to address the income security, but also guarantee that food is available for everyone in this planet. Climate change, as we know, its dynamic is a direct threat to food systems because it affects not only the food insecurity, but also the health of our population. In Uganda, you probably all know, I'll just give a quick example. We know that the climate change is continue to manifest through the reduction of rainfall amounts, shorten of rain season in some parts of the country, while we also continue to witness in other parts of this small country, landslides, floodings is becoming a common trend year after year. So climate change is real, is affecting the life of our people, is affecting all dimensions of food systems. So this symposium and the discussion that you'll be having in different sessions is of paramount importance to see how we move forward to address the aspect of food insecurity, but also push the planning, not only at the household level, at the community level, at the nation level, to ensure that we harness the much desired opportunities to reduce food insecurity and reduce death around the world. So, coming here, I was also looking at the exhibitions that are here. We strongly believe that what we've been seeing will ably demonstrate the actions, but also the opportunities for communities to bring resilience to food shortage and try to eliminate food insecurity in all its form. Today, we cannot talk about food security and climate mitigation without mentioning the adaptation and smart and digital technologies and innovation in agri-food system to allow the transformation that we would like to propose. I think it is an opportunity for Uganda, but also East Africa and in our continent at large, to see how we can upscale the adoption of digital technologies and innovation to harness and promote the viability, assess stability, stable supply and sustainable utilization of food and food system products equitably. I strongly believe that tapping into these opportunities give us and offers, that we see on the digital technologies, particularly in East Africa, but in our continent. We can reap substantial benefits from adopting digital technology in extension service, digital technology in terms of assisted food safety and quality assurance, what we call end-to-end traceability system, digital marketing, digital assisted climate information and early warning systems, just to name a few. I'm glad that this symposium is recognizing also the importance of promoting a food system approach and planning to emphasize the new paradigm in terms of a holistic approach that allow the integration of the ecological dimensions into the policy reforms that is needed, but also to accelerate the sustainable development in all its forms.
Thank you very much, Dr. Antonio Veridos, for the powerful statement and the commitments.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us today. I apologize for the delay. Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, Your Excellencies, Head of Diplomatic Missions, Head of UN agencies, especially our colleagues at FAO, development partners, eminent members of the press, and distinguished guests, and all protocols observed. My name is Magnus Rasmussen, and to observe protocol correctly, I am not the country director, but I am head of partnerships development with World Food Programme. And I'm here delivering a speech on behalf of our CD country director, Mr. Megak, who is not here today with us, unfortunately. So he sends his apologies for being unable to make it to this very, very important conversation. I'm nevertheless honored to represent him and spend time listening to these wonderful deliberations and take this opportunity to welcome you all to this Food Security Symposium. I thank the Climate Change Action East Africa and International University of East Africa for keeping the issues of climate change and food security at the forefront. You requested me to speak about WFP's commitment to help the government of Uganda and the communities in finding lasting solutions to end hunger. I'll start by saying that working towards zero hunger by 2023, in line with the Strategic Development Goals, SDGs, is in no doubt a task that requires strong partnership, such as the one WFP is proud to have with the government of Uganda. But this is not just a role of government of WFP or even our sister agencies, the Food and Agriculture Organization. That is also here today. It is not up to UN and government alone to end hunger. When the people around us go hungry in a world where there's enough food produced to feed everyone, we must all be concerned and act. We must demand accountability, and we must ask the difficult questions and start the important discussions and conversations that I hope we're having here today. Climate change in combination with diseases such as COVID and now Ebola and different crises that are affecting us on a regular basis are keeping us from reaching the goal of zero hunger. In Uganda, for example, the integrated food security classification shows that over 40% of the population Karamoja is suffering from high level of food insecurity. Not only an estimated 47% of households in rural areas and 22% in urban areas are food poor. Uganda Bureau of Statistics also shows that a lot of household heads lost employment due to COVID-19, affecting their ability to provide basic needs such as food for their families. As the United Nations World Food Program, we're working with our partners to respond in the face of emergencies. Giving children under 5 and pregnant and breastfeeding women malnutrition treatment and supporting their families with protective rations to ensure that they are not forced to eat food meant to treat malnutrition. In Karamoja, we have school feeding programs reaching approximately 120,000 pupils in more than 315 schools. Also, 1.3 million of the 1.5 million refugees in Uganda receive food assistance from World Food Program. About 55% of our food assistance is in cash, allowing the people we serve to determine their diets. Further to this, WP provides energy-saving stoves to households for people with special needs. However, we do recognize that emergency response alone cannot lead us to our goal of zero hunger by 2030. It must be combined with effective early warning and preparedness interventions to mitigate the impact of climate change and other shocks. Emergency response must also include sustainable livelihood interventions to enable communities to become more self-reliant. At WFP, we have worked with FAO and local governments in Acholi and Karamoja, West Nile and southwestern Uganda to provide seasonal, simplified, and timely climate information to communities. We are part of the Subnational Outlook Forum that meets regularly to discuss and develop community-appropriate climate messages. In addition, we're training experts who will in turn train agricultural extension workers and lead farmers, further ensuring that all the early warning information reaches the last mile. In both Karamoja and among refugees and host communities, we have supplemented early warning information with financial literacy training and sustainable livelihood interventions, such as fish farming and beekeeping. However, this support to communities and government is just a drop in the ocean when it comes to addressing zero hunger. It is important that the donors step up and provide funding not just to emergency response, but also for sustainable livelihood and anticipatory action, such as weather-indexed insurance schemes. As young university students, civil society organizations, you must never tire of keeping the issues of food security in the public discourse and demanding accountability in action. WFP reaffirms its commitments to working with government to reach zero hunger by 2030 and to utilize partnerships such as this one today to make sure that no one is left behind as we move jointly towards this common goal. Thank you.
Mr. Magnus Ron of the World Food Program. Kindly put your hands together again for him. You can appreciate the effort that is being done by WFP in supporting our country's contribution in ensuring that all Ugandans have better livelihood.
The Honorable Minister, Your Excellencies, the ambassadors, members of Parliament, the representatives of UN agencies, FAO and World Food Program, religious leaders present, the Vice Chancellor, International University of East Africa, the Chancellors of different universities present, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today to address an honorable congregation that has gathered to discuss an issue of global, national and regional concern, that is climate change and food security. Many years ago, humans did not heed to environmental conservation, but over time this has caused disasters related to impact of climate change, such as extreme events of drought, floods, whose effects we grapple with. From the annual State of Climate report, recently published by Uganda National Meteorological Authority, it was observed that the temperatures in the country have been warmest in the last 20 years. Thankfully, human nature got a wake-up call, and these are the efforts we see currently. Today, we are here to strategize, dialogue, and share ideas on how to ensure food security in the East Africa region. Most of the communities in Uganda and across the region still depend on rain-fed agriculture as their main source of food and for their livelihoods to meet non-food expenses such as health and education needs. There is no doubt that climate change affects agriculture activities, not only at home in Uganda, but as has been witnessed across the Greater Horn of Africa, with 4 below average seasonal agricultural production performance. Largely, this has been attributed to insufficient rainfall performance. Currently, as per the Global Platform for Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, 4.4 million people in some parts of Kenya are food insecure, 6.7 million food insecure in Somalia, 0.6 million in Tanzania, 7.7 million in South Sudan, and about 300 million people in Uganda, that is in Karamoja, to be specific, Karamoja sub-region, are having food consumption gaps. Climate change is increasing the community's exposure to disaster risks and in turn eroding the coping capacities of individuals and households. As such, these disasters have caused loss of lives and livelihoods, as well as socioeconomic impacts. This has been witnessed majorly in the districts of Kasese, Bududa, Kabong, Kotido, Moroto, among others. In order for us to find lasting solutions to this challenge, there is need to go back to the drawing board and come up with community-driven mechanisms such as prioritization of smallholder farmers' organizations to enable access to support services and economies of scale to transition from subsistence farming to the money economy. Furthermore, fast-track the implementation of the parish development model to enhance service delivery in key areas of food system, especially at the grassroots level. Recently, government launched the Disaster Risk Management Plan, which advocates for investments in disaster risk reduction, for resilience through structural and non-structural measures, capacity enhancement, and research. This plan is anchored on NDP 3, the National Disaster Preparedness and Management Policy, National Risk and Vulnerability Atlas, and international frameworks such as Sendai Framework 2015-2030, Africa Agenda 2063 of the African Union, IGAD Drought Resilience and Sustainability Initiative, and the IGAD Disaster Risk Management Strategy, plus the Sustainable Development Goals. I reiterate government of Uganda's commitment to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action and Sustainable Development Goal 2 on zero hunger. However, we should keep working together so as to find lasting solutions to the challenges of food security and climate change. May this symposium and expo add to the body of language and guide our actions in whichever sector we serve so as to find solutions to climate change and food security. I thank management of staff of the Climate Change Action East Africa and the International University of East Africa, together with your partners, for organizing this relevant and enriching symposium. For God and my country, remarks read on behalf of Honorable Esther Anyakunda Vinia, MP, Minister of State for Relief, Disaster Preparedness and Refugees in the Office of the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Big hand clap to Madam Commissioner Catherine Ahimbisiwe for competently making the statement of our dear Minister of Relief and Disaster Preparedness, Honorable Anyakun.
These are facts of life. And for those of you who are familiar with Murphy's Law, that if something is supposed to go wrong, it will definitely go wrong. And we who are seated here have contributed to the challenges we are facing today. we nicely address it as climate change. It is other people's things. Climate change is other people's things. We are responsible for the inequilibrium or for the distortion of the equilibrium which should make this earth sustain us. So I want you to take home another one fact, that you know your body weight now. Find out what 20% of your body weight is. That is exactly what you weigh. The rest is water. If you remove that water from your body weight which you are carrying today, the dry weight which remains is only 20% of what you are carrying around. Think about it, and let us not distort the equilibrium of nature. Honorable Minister, we as universities teach students in the skills and knowledge, agriculture, animal husbandry, and all those industries. But sometimes our students do not get opportunity to interact with the players. We have here FAO, we have the World Food Program, and somebody rightly said that the World Food Program is only known for distributing food when we have disasters. And I'm happy to hear today that you have now gone a bit lower to say, how is food produced? How can we help production of food in countries that have food insecurity? The teaching of students in practice, placing the students in the community where agricultural activities take place, is what we need to emphasize. Your remarks and open this symposium.
The chair of the International University of East Africa, the Vice Chancellor of the International University of East Africa, and I greet you all. It is a great pleasure for me to be part of this very important Food Security Symposium and Expo. And I'll start by telling you who I am and why I'm here. I'm known by the names Bwino Fred Chakulaga. I'm the Minister of State for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries in the Republic of Uganda. And I'm here because the organizers of this symposium and expo requested His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda to come and open this symposium. However, he couldn't make it. So he took a decision to delegate my ministry to come and represent him here. I'm therefore here to represent His Excellency the President, and I have a written message that he has given me and asked me to convey to this symposium. But before I convey that message, allow me to convey warm greetings from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, specifically from the Senior Minister, the Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, from the other two ministers, the Honorable Bright Ramirama, who is in charge of the livestock subsector, and the Honorable Helen Adoa, who is in charge of the fisheries sector. I also convey greetings from the entire staff and fraternity of that ministry. I must also say that the message I'm going to convey, I'll convey it verbatim, because I don't want to distort it. And here it goes. I commend the team led by the executive leadership of Climate Change East Africa, and I believe that we have here Mr. Ravai present here. The president recognizes and commends your team and the team of the International University of East Africa for the extensive preparations that have resulted in this historic symposium and expo. I believe that the outcomes of this symposium and expo will go a long way in promoting awareness of climate change impacts and in compelling countries within the East African region to plan, budget, and implement commitments to address climate change, food security, nutrition, and the well-being of the common person. I also wish to welcome distinguished participants from across the world that are here, as well as decision makers from various countries within the East African region and elsewhere that are responsible for the management of food systems. It is my hope that your brief stay will enable you to enjoy Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. The entire world is facing challenges occasioned by climate change, which has been and remains a major challenge for the current times in as far as food security is concerned. As you are aware, human beings thrive on food for sustainability and survival. And this is not about to change. When the globe was faced with the challenge of COVID-19, I told the Ugandans about the real economy. And my writings are available for you to refer to about this subject matter, in which I explained the importance of food and other necessities. I wish to reiterate that the climate change problem is as a consequence of damaging the environment by what I call irresponsible and sometimes greedy human actions. It is these human actions that have caused diverse effects that we are discussing in this symposium. we are aware that the effects of climate change, such as rising temperature and changes in precipitation, are undeniably clear, with impacts already affecting ecosystems, biodiversity, and people. All of us have a part to play as far as change of the status quo is concerned. It is my responsibility, it's your responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility to change the status quo. I trust that the liberations from this symposium and the lessons we shall learn from our brothers and sisters from across the world that have gathered here will yield good results. I wish to inform you that my government well understood the diverse effects of the human actors mentioned above and determined to reverse and stop their actions. In this country, people in the wetlands, people in forests, and people on slopes of mountains and hills have been engaged in discussions to leave those ecosystems and go to safe settlements and get alternative livelihood. In cases of natural disasters, resources have been mobilized for this purpose, so as to ensure a soft landing for the vulnerable groups. In order to permanently solve this problem, we need to understand the strategic importance of socio-economic transformation, because that is the basis of the solution. With us, in the NRM, we have embarked on one advocacy campaign to transition the Ugandan society from a pre-capitalist subsistence-based society to a middle-class, skilled, working-class society. In order to create this kind of society here in Uganda, we have been using 4 stimuli. 1, the universal education, both at primary and secondary levels. 2, full monetization of the economy. That is to say, wiping out the subsistence economy. 3, modernizing the economy. That is to say, industrializing, digitizing, and developing the services sector. And finally, number 4, electrification of the economy, so that we do away with the use of firewood for energy. Within the industrialization efforts, we take care of the majority of the population shifting from agriculture to services and industry, and believe that only a few should remain in agriculture, because this is what is happening elsewhere. Now, turning to the subject of this symposium, food security in the East African region is being faced with an array of challenges, which include climate-related disasters, insecurity, decreasing area of arable land, and the decreasing productivity of agricultural land. We are actually holding this symposium in the aftermath of a terrible locust upsurge that caused huge damage on crops.
Can we put our hands together again for our dear chief guest, who has delivered a message from His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda. At this point, I want to request all of us to put our hands together for Ms. Fina Mugerewa as she comes here to perform. DJ, kindly make sure our sound, the output, is slightly better than it is now. Ms. Fina, come and deliver the message. Continue clapping for her as she comes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Protocol observed. I'm so humbled to be on this platform. On behalf of the creative industry, I thank the brains behind this patriotic initiative. It is you and I together to do this thing, not any other person. It's you and I. I'm so humbled, and I thank the Climate Change Action East Africa for considering creative art. Music is the quickest communicator. By the time you organize the conference, music is already in someone's house. We are all culprits, but some culprits sometimes don't get the message. With music, everyone is going to get the information. That is why I say it's all about you and I. As the creative industry, we are ready to be in this struggle. This is a give back to our community and to us all. It is a struggle for all of us. It's a pity. Whenever I listen to the song we composed, I cry because I'm not seeing the same Uganda. My mother used to tell me that we had seasons, but we no longer have seasons. Grasshoppers are running away from their original land. We don't know where they're going. It's just because of climate. So let us put our hands together, our heads together, our brains together for a better climate. Let us save our land for our children, because our fathers, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, they saved this land for us. Let's not destroy it for the people we've given birth to. If you see this per holder, it is a bottle of mineral water. We can recycle all the materials which are used. Don't litter, you can use them. And from the creative industry, we can make everything useful. Let us be innovators. DJ, I don't want to speak so much. I'm a musician, I'm a performer. For today, I'm not going to dance so much because it is a sad story. It is a sad story. All right. I'd like to introduce my team. You know, when it comes to communication, the biggest percentage in the country is now the youths. We have to involve them in each and everything we are doing. I humbly request all the stakeholders in this initiative, please, let's use music as a communicator, because we won't go wrong. We are the quickest communicators. And I humbly request the government, Honorable Minister, on behalf of the government, let's use music in all causes that you want to communicate to the country, because we talk to the people, we are preachers. and we are teachers. Thank you so much. Our song is called It Is You and I Together for a Better Climate. Give us the tune, good words. I introduce my young brothers. These are young artists. They didn't ask money to do this song, but they are patriots. They have given in their talents to do this thing. As Uganda Musicians Association, we are ready to get on board on this cause.